Can anxiety cause vertigo? The short answer is yes. The long answer, let's figure out why, and we'll talk about it in this video. Welcome to the Vertigo Recovery Doctor. I'm Dr. Kevin Smith, and I not only want to help you figure out what's causing your vertigo, but also help you recover from it. Now, the best way to get my help is to hit that subscribe button and the little bell next to it to get notifications of when I come out with new helpful videos. Now, let's talk about this problem of anxiety and causing vertigo. And the vestibular system, the inner ear system that helps keep you stabilized and grounded and balanced, has connections in the brain to a lot of the areas that control emotions, such as the amygdala and the limbic system. And if you just think about when you're experiencing vertigo, typically you're experiencing something that feels out of control. It can be a little scary. Why is this happening to me, right? And it often has a physiological response. People a lot of times will feel clammy or sweaty, nauseous, and that is the sympathetic nervous system kicking in. And you're getting this kind of fight or flight response. And that is a part of our autonomic nervous system. So you have the parasympathetic, which is that kind of rest and digest, and then you have the sympathetic nervous system, which is that fight or flight system. And a lot of times that vertigo, that sensation that you're experiencing is going to kick in that sympathetic nervous system, and you're going to get all those kind of symptoms of the nausea, the clammy sweatiness, and so on. And it's also going to put you into this hypervigilant state. And so and I kind of talk about this, I use the word kind of upregulated. So your nervous system is kind of upregulated. It's a hypervigilant state. You're very aware, and that's part of that sympathetic response. If you think about, like, okay, if you're being chased by a bear, then you need to be really aware of your environment. All your senses need to be very heightened. But if you're just sitting, relaxing, and your senses are very heightened, so then that can cause problems because you're going to be a little bit too aware of your symptoms. You're going to be perceiving sensations and symptoms that are, your perception is going to be greater than what you're actually experiencing, and that's going to cause dizziness, and then you're going to have all this response. Now, when we talk about, when your brain's getting confused, when there's been some kind of disruption to one of your sensory systems, let's take the vestibular system, then that confusion can lead to disorientation, and that disorientation can cause some anxiety. The vestibular system plays a role in, has communications between, as I said, these centers that regulate emotion, and that can contribute to anxiety. So let's take just kind of more of a cognitive process or more of a thought-driven process of, if you're having vertigo and you're experiencing dizziness, then you may have a fear of falling. So this is more of not so much subconscious as more of a conscious level of thought. You're afraid of falling, and that's putting you into more of a hypervigilant state. You're worrying about it. Dizziness could either come on any time, or you could fall at any time. This is making you very anxious whenever you're standing, whenever you're walking, whenever you're going around. And that is going to contribute to kind of that upregulated state that I was talking about, and that hypervigilance and sensory sensitivity. And that can contribute to anxiety. If you're always thinking about this, if you're always worrying about something, then you're going to be in kind of a chronic state or perpetual state of anxiety. So fear of falling is one, and then just the psychological impact of that, as I was saying, it's going to disrupt your daily activities, and you're going to be more frustrated, you're going to be more stressed, you're going to have kind of a sense of loss of control if you're experiencing dizziness all the time, and that's going to contribute to anxiety as well. So when you have this kind of hypervigilance and this upregulated state, your brain is going to adapt, and it's going to change to everything that you're experiencing, and you're going to build connections. And the more you kind of associate dizziness or anxiety or fear with certain activities, the stronger those connections become, the more you're going to be anxious. And this anxiety and dizziness, it has a very strong feed-forward cycle. The more you're dizzy, the more anxious you become, the more anxious you become, the more dizzy you become. And so they can definitely feed forward into each other. Sometimes it's like, okay, well, was it the chicken or the egg kind of situation? Did you have anxiety first or did you have dizziness first? It could be either one. Sometimes conditions like 3PD, persistent postural perceptual dizziness, is triggered just by anxiety or by like major life events, stress, stuff like that. Sometimes vestibular migraines are triggered by stressful situations or anxiety. But yeah, so when we talk about that kind of upregulated sympathetic nervous system and how that can lead to physiological changes, we talked about the increased heart rate and sweating and that neuroplasticity. So the brain's making stronger connections between times that you're experiencing dizziness and vertigo and associating with that anxiety and that fear response, which is going to feed forward into each other, make everything worse. Now, the amygdala, so if you're having some kind of fear falling, or if you're anxious or you're fearful of some kind of movement or activity, that's going to activate your amygdala where your fear, it's essentially your fear center. That's going to trigger kind of a fear response, contribute to that heightened anxiety. And we kind of talked about that cycle that kind of goes through. So there's a lot of connections between the brain, or in the brain, between the vestibular system, what you're experiencing, and kind of those emotional regulation centers as well. And so one big thing that we have to do is we have to break that cycle of that fear and anxiety and the dizziness that you're experiencing. Disassociate the feelings of anxiety and the feelings of fear with activities that are causing you dizziness, or disassociate that anxiety and fear from feelings of vertigo in order to help you recover. So we kind of have to break that. You have to start associating or thinking about vertigo as something that you can overcome and being in a positive mindset as this is a challenge that I'm going to get over, rather than staying in a state of being afraid or fearful of your symptoms. So this is something that is going to be essential for you before you can start recovering from your vertigo. Whether you have BPPV and you're afraid of going through the maneuver because you don't want to experience dizziness, or whether you have something more chronic like 3PD or chronic vestibular hypofunction, vestibular migraines, we have to change your mindset in order to help you recover. Now, this is when vestibular exercise is going to be helpful for you, but also probably seeking out counseling services. If you can have more than one discipline helping you through this process, then that's going to be even better, and you're going to get better faster. And sometimes that's needed, to have somebody to talk through these and provide you with coping strategies. So whether it's a licensed social worker or a marriage family therapist or whoever it might be, a medical professional to help you, guide you through some of those coping strategies and behavioral changes that you need to make in order to be successful with vestibular therapy. Keep that in mind. So I hope this video is helpful for you, and thank you for watching.